Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Moltrap here, bringing you game number 2 of the GomTV MSL Finals, which I believe was GomTV Season 1. Yeah, this is the first MSL that was sponsored by GomTV, since they sponsored, I think, 3? Maybe 4? I don't remember exactly. But they sponsored several MSLs, and because GomTV was actually, before, I actually didn't even know that GomTV was, before StarCraft 2, before they did StarCraft 2 tournaments, I didn't realize that they were basically like an internet broadcasting company in general, and they did all kinds of different content, and so they were sponsoring the StarCraft to get out the word for that, and I just realized that my display is a little bit funny here. I'm going to try and change it. I don't know if this is working. There we go. Make sure nothing's cut off. I apologize. I actually don't know if it was cut off in game number 1. If anything was cut off on the side there. I'm just gonna. Okay, there we go. There we go. That looks good. Sorry for the live editing here. But I'm gonna get these games recorded, and there's a guy wearing a horse head in the audience. Of course. I don't know why he's not covering his face. Oh, 2007, ladies and gentlemen. It's a crazy time. Anyway, yes. So again, if you're not familiar, this is Savior versus Bisu. Savior being, of course, the Zerg player. Bisu being the Protoss player. Savior was on Team CJ back in the day. Bisu on Team NBC Game. And he's doing a good job of harassing this drone who's trying to put down an expansion. This is Reverse Temple, by the way. So this is a map that we saw before where, man, okay, so I mean, this is typical. The Protoss harasses the expansion, and the Zerg's just like, alright, well, fine, I'll put my expansion somewhere else. My first expansion, at least, because he's gonna get 2 expansions anyways, basically. That's Savior style. So, and look at this, Bisu, did he just go Nexus first, I think? Yeah, so, I mean, the part of this build is Scout, right? It's very adaptable. If you Scout and your opponent has gone Pool first, you go Forge Cannon first. If you Scout and you see that your opponent has gone 2 hatcheries first, then you go Forge, then you go Nexus, Nexus Gateway Forge, or Nexus Forge Gateway, sorry. You know, you can see what they're doing and basically time when their lings could get to your base and delay your Forge and Cannon until the last possible moment that you would need them in order to defend against that attack. And in doing so, you're able to get your Nexus up faster. You're able to get, the faster you get your Nexus up, the faster you get your economy going. The faster you get your gateway up, the faster you get your tech going. So you want to get those buildings earlier rather than later, usually. Anyway, spawning pool is up right now, and he's going to be confused Zerglings. He's probably not going to go for too much of an attack, because again, we're trying to figure out, like, okay, what is Savior's style here, right? And it's looking like Savior's style in the ZVP matchup is generally get a bunch of bases, get a big economy, overwhelm the mid-late game, and Bisu is playing to that. He's saying, oh, okay, I'm gonna get an early economy as well. Anyway, this is Reverse Temple, like I said. If you're not aware of it, it's kind of like Lost Temple, but in reverse as far as the altitudes go. So Lost Temple has 4 spawn points on high ground and a ramp down to a low ground expansion. This Reverse Temple has 4 spawn points on low ground and a ramp up to a high ground expansion. It's very similar construction to Lost Temple as far as the locations of the spawn points and the island expansions in the corners, etc. So, anyway, kind of a shout out to the old school Lost Temple, which was, from what I understand, not a very balanced map, but it was one of the original Blizzard maps and was in a lot of early tournaments, and so it's a classic. It's a classic. Got this first Zealot coming here to do some harassment. Savior does have those Zerglings to defend. The Probe going in for another scout, just wants to see what's going on. You know, you need to keep scouting with this. You need to make sure that they're not going for just 3 hatchery all-in Hydras. And then, you know, that's part of this build as well, is you get the fast tech for the Stargate tech, and you can send in a Corsair very quickly, and you can actually kind of scout what's going on in their base very quickly. Now, if you can somehow kill the probe early and then do a timing before the Corsair gets out, that can be successful sometimes. But the probe, very difficult to catch. You know, until you get speed upgrade on the Zerglings, basically, it's almost impossible to actually kill that probe. Did you know that probes regenerate their shields? It's true. So even if you pick away at it here and there, it's still hard to actually get that killing blow on the probe later on. Okay, so we got a little bit of a variation here. Instead of going for the straight Templar tech, Bisu is going for the robotics tech instead. Which is very interesting. And he scouted this Hydros Den, I think. Yeah, I think he scouted the Hydros Den, so that might be why we're seeing that. You know, early Hydras instead of waiting for... never mind, I shouldn't say it's early Hydras. You kind of just need a Hydros Den anyway. Even if you're not going for Hydras, for mass Hydras, you need it early to deal with those little buggers. The flying super mosquitoes called Corsairs. You need some Hydras, just otherwise the Corsairs are going to roast all your overlords with their solar, I think, what is it, solar flare or something like that, I think is the name. Building a spire as well, though, and so this could bode well for Savior in this game. He does have all the tech he needs. He hasn't really been harassed too much. But yeah, the robotics support bay going up first. So he's not going for observers first. He probably has a shuttle in the making, and then he's going to have a shuttle pop out and a Reaver. Yeah, there's the shuttle. The Reaver's going to start making almost immediately after that. So he's going to have a Reaver and a shuttle very quickly. Now, Reavers don't do very well against Mutalisks, ladies and gentlemen. So these fast Mutas are going to be a little bit of a timing that could be bad for Bisu. He has 2, maybe 3 Corsairs out right now. He's going to have to play the game of chicken, basically, and look at this, he was not prepared that much for it. The cannons are just warping into the main, so I guess he was prepared for it, but I don't think he was expecting it that much. The couple cannons a little bit late there. That could have been a little bit bad if he'd had a couple more mutas and some Scourge or something like that. Which, you know, again, pro gaming is all about the timings and knowing exactly what your opponent is capable of having. So Bisu, you know, probably actually does know exactly what the possibility is of how many Mutalisks could come in at that point in time based on what he scouted before, and is able to react in the best timing that he's like, okay, by the time the mutas are a real threat, I'm going to have these 3 cannons warped in. First one warping in right as they arrived. So, but now he's making more Mutalisks and the Scourge. He really wants to take control of the air. You know, you kind of have to make a choice as the Zerg against Protoss. Am I going to cede control of the air to the Protoss, let them have their Corsairs, and just, you know, maintain control with the Hydralisks, which are direct counter to Corsairs? Or do you actually want to try and take the air? Do you actually want to take out all the air units with the Scourge and the Mutalisks and actually take control of the air, and then you can use the mobility of your Mutalisks to your advantage? He's flying his flock of Mutas in a wide formation, by the way, you know, not keeping them clumped up so that the Corsairs are not as strong against them if they encounter Corsairs, because they'll be spread out. Splash damage won't be able to do quite as much damage. So he's got the 2 Reavers now, and so he's basically safe against almost infinite Hydralists at this point. I mean, that's kind of the point of it. But again, you know, Sair Reaver into DTs. Very interesting. So he's actually, I mean, if we're probably going to see Bisu do something similar to before, where he's going to use 1 unit to attack. He's going to send in DTs in the sides and try and get some cheeky kills on the sides. Now, Savior does have, we just saw a creep colony in his, I believe, his natural? None in his main, but he's got 1 in his natural. And so, you know, he could be well defended against the Dark Templar if he's expecting it. I mean, you know, even before Bisu, Dark Templar was obviously still something you had to worry about at Zerg. So it's going to be standard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 6, 7, 8, 9. I think it has 8 or 9 Corsairs now. So 8 or 9 Corsairs. I don't know if they have the upgrade, but yeah, there's the. I think the upgrade spinning for those Corsairs. It could be the Dragoon range, I suppose, theoretically spinning right now. But 9 Corsairs though is basically enough to kill Infinite Scourge, right? Unless they're perfectly executed from all angles at once, and the Corsairs you know, can't fire in all different directions, and the splash damage doesn't help, then you know, the Corsairs, that many Corsairs can basically just stand still, and any Scourge that come in after them are just going to die, and then you're free to just take care of the Mutalisk. They'll take care of Mutalisk very quickly as well. So Bisu continuing to produce these Corsairs, and it's interesting, he's actually not ready to go in yet. He's like, all right, well, I'm just going to use, you know, I'm going to use this shuttle with these Reavers just to drop off these Reavers at my expansion. And here, see, there's those Scourge looking for targets, becoming targets themselves. Savior flying around the map, around the side of the map. He might actually sacrifice his third to go for a counterattack here. No, it looks like he is bringing in some forces to combat this. And Bisu is sandwiched. Bisu is going to be sandwiched here. He's got his forces in a little bit of a choke point. The Hydra's coming from the back against the Dragoons. The Hydra's coming from the front as well. The Mutalisk going straight for the Reavers and targeting them down. The Corsairs come in to defend, but it's too late. The Reavers are already gone. The Zerglings clean up the Dragoons, and now the Hydras can kill off the Corsairs before the Mutalisk die. Actually, the Corsairs don't even care. They're like, we're going to go for the kill. He loses 3 Corsairs, but he kills all of the rest of Mutalisks. That is actually a pretty significant blow. It's much easier for him to replace 3 or 4 Corsairs getting those kills than it is for Savior to replace an entire large army of Mutalisks. So Bisu losing his entire army, but did he gain enough? And I feel like there's an opportunity here for Savior to counterattack, actually, because, and he's going to try and take it. He's morphing Lurkers first, though, instead of just making mass Hydras, because we saw Bisu's third base. He'd just gotten it up. The Nexus wasn't even finished yet when he went out for that attack. You know, it was a good opportunity there, because now Bisu probably has several cannons built up now. He probably has another Reaver at his third base, but it still could be enough that Savior could overrun him right now. So it's a little bit of a tenuous situation right now. And Bisu being active on the map with those Corsairs. See, there's the cannons are built up now. He's got a reinforcement units there, and he has High Templar as well. The shuttle is roaming around the map, dropping off High Templar. Sorry, Dark Templar. Dark Templar in the main, ladies and gentlemen. Savior doesn't seem to realize it either. It's just getting kill after kill after kill. Savior too focused on his attack against the third base, and oh, this is one of those games. Every Zerg player has experienced this moment where they go back to their main to do some macro, and they see every drone is gone, and they hear that slashing sound, and the Invisible Man has killed everything in their base. And so Savior is going to lose his spawning pool as well, it looks like. But he's going to kill Bisu's third at the same time. The cannons were not enough, and Bisu may not have Observer Tech, or he may not have Storm researched yet or something like that, because those High Templar were not able to quite kill off all of the units, and the Lurkers at the edge of the... Yeah, I think they were out of range. I think he didn't have enough Storms, and the Dragoons couldn't see them. He may not have Observers yet. So Savior able to take out that third base, able to fend off this attack on his own third, where he's gotten up a fourth. So the main is dead, but it's relatively... And Savior actually killing off some of these Corsairs as well, but how did Bisu get this massive army? And he's going into the third again, continuing with this push. High Templar alongside a Reaver just crawling along towards that point. And this is a nice choke point for Bisu, actually, because he can get sandwiched, but not if he storms. Oh, one more storm will kill 3 or 4 Lurkers, but they do hatch out of the eggs first, but they're still clumped up, so the storms are still going to do massive damage to those Lurkers. Oh, look at the pools of blood on the ground. So many Lurkers dying to just a couple storms. The Reaver has arrived as well. Slow and steady, but the Tortoise is here to slaughter the hare with its scarabs of massive damage. And it looks like he's pushing farther into that third base. Savior still does have the production to come back and make another wave and try and combat this army. But Bisu has just, oh, what an unlucky scarab for Savior there. It actually chased him down, killed several units in the back instead of going as a dud. And Bisu now, you know, this choke point means that he can get sandwiched, but it also means that there's not a high surface area for his army. And he can kind of, and he's got one Dragoon stuck behind, actually hiding under the trees to signal to his main army that there's a counterattack coming from the back. The Dragoons are able to fall back and kind of defend the Reavers a little bit there. 2 Scarabs get wasted on a single Zergling, so that's a nice trade there, but you've got to be more efficient than that if you're going to save your lair and you're going to save this game. Hydralisk running into lair goes down, the Reaver dies, but it's too late, I think, because the damage has already been done. The lair has been obliterated. The forces have been obliterated. Most of the Lurkers have died as well. There's still a couple left, but that's it. And Bisu now pushing into the natural. The main has been repopulated. But Savior, I mean, look at all the bases that he has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bases that he's made this game. And he just got a little bit too big for his britches. He just maybe overexpanded because he doesn't have the army to defend against what Bisu's throwing at him now. Bisu just macroing up too many units, now pushing into the natural expansion, battering down the evolution chamber doors and saying, let me in, open up the gates, I'm here to sack your main village. And that's exactly what's going on. Bisu, look at this. And you know, if Savior still had Mulus, he could harass the reinforcing units, but that's too much. And there's the GG. There's the GG coming from Savior for game number 2. Bisu winning 2 games in a row and just looking really strong. And you know, it's kind of crazy too because it didn't look like a real stomp. Savior fought off that first attack. He destroyed Bisu's first army. He did a little bit of a delayed counterattack. He waited until he had lurkers, but then he went after the third base of Bisu, killed off the third base of Bisu still, didn't lose too much doing it. And then Bisu was just like, so what? I've just been making a bunch of crap this entire time. I'm just going to move across the map with slow reavers and dragoons and zealots and all kinds of chaos and a bunch of Psystorms in the bank. Cast them all over your lurker army, which, you know, Savior could have spread out a little bit more, I think. But he was also a little bit of panic. His lurkers were morphing at kind of a last-ditch effort, and they got stormed, and he wanted to burrow them quickly, but I think in that case he might have wanted to fall them back, burrow them separately. I mean, you see that nowadays. This is 2007, so this is not, you can't expect this to quite be modern StarCraft, but in 2020, 2021, if you see the best Zerg players in that situation will always spread out their lurkers, you know, exactly the width of a one Psystorm plus 1 pixel apart, basically. They'll spread out their lurkers, and it makes them so much more vulnerable to zealots and especially to dragoons. But it's just so, if you get all of your lurkers stormed with 2 or 3 storms and you lose all of your lurkers in a couple storms, that's much worse of a fate to suffer. So, you know, in 2021, you see Zergs always spread out their lurkers at the highest level. So, I mean, you still see a lot of good players that don't, and sometimes it works, but it's just like you can lose so much so quickly if a couple storms land on your lurkers and they're all clumped up. So you see them spread out. But, you know, Savior there, not quite able to pull it off. Oh, I'm trying to remember their names. Well, there's Jelizer in the middle, of course. I think that was Pusan is coming up next. I think Jaehoon was one of the guys from earlier. I'm like just kind of quizzing myself here, see if I can remember all these names. That was Pusan in the darker sweater. I'm pretty sure that's Much on the left. Who is that on the right? Oh, I know him. Why can I not remember his name? They're pointing out Zelos for some reason. I'm not sure why they're zooming in on Zelos. Maybe I think he was Team CJ, was Savior's teammate. Maybe his coach at this point in time. Actually, I don't know if Zelos was still playing in 2007. I think he did play when he joined Air Force, and he joined Air Force Ace, but anyway, that's going to do it for game 2. I'm going to stop playing ID the Pro Gamer game and go ahead and end this video. But thanks very much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to have game 3 of this MSL Finals coming up very soon, and I'll see you then.